How's everyone? Good, good, good. See a couple of faces and some new faces. Glad to have everyone here to look into home ownership. All right, very good. How's everyone? Good, good, good. See a couple of faces I know and some new faces. Glad to have everyone here to look into home ownership. All right, very good. So a lot of people ask us prior to us getting set up, is this the right time to buy a house? Anybody here paying rent? Is it quite expensive? Yeah. Is it going conventionally, they have the money down, right? 10, 20%. And on $250,000, anybody know what 10% of that is? $25,000 down, just 10%. And then closing costs, you all have to pay closing costs, right? And typically on $250,000, that's about $7,000 more dollars that you need to come out of pocket. Then if you don't have excellent credit, like I did when I first bought my first house, they took me for a ride. So first I put 10% down. Then I had to come up with closing costs. Then they said, well, we got ready to close. We're going to have to push it back. Anybody ever had that happen? Yeah. They do that quite frequently. It's a game that they play. So they say, they know that you're anxious. They want to get it done. So they say, if you come up with $5,000 more because of your credit, we can get this done. So I gave them $5,000 more. We set the closing for another Friday, one Friday out. They said, we have a problem. And I said, what's the problem? They said, well, because you had about a 650 score, you're not at 7 back then. This was the 90s. You're not at 700. We don't know if we can do the deal. You're going to need $5,000 more. I said, I'll tell you what, give me my money back. And I'll just keep renting because I can't keep doing this. So they went ahead and set the closing. And I closed on my house. And this was 1996. My credit, because it wasn't a 720, I got an 11% interest rate, which sounds even higher compared to today's interest rate, right? So a lot of people don't understand, today's interest rates are the standard interest rates, right? Back in the days, 7%, 8% was standard. Mine was 11%, 11 3/4 to be exact, because I did not understand the game and how it worked with mortgage. So my payment at that time was over $1,200, which was a lot in the 90s. That's a lot of money. Now it's standard. But once I learned the game, I decided I was going to help people so that people are not taken. So we predominantly get people approved through the USDA. That's predominantly who we use, for our FHA. I'm sure you all have heard of all of them. The USDA program that we utilize is called a 502 loan. You can go to the bank and get a USDA loan. That's called a 504 loan. They still have no down payment. Sometimes they might roll the closing costs into the loan. Sometimes you may have to bring it. But they only approve you for X amount of dollars under that program. And if you are lower income, and when I say that, in Greenville County, under the program that we utilize, for a single individual, you just can't make over $71,000. And most people I'm dealing with are not making over $71,000. So now they call that a lower income for Greenville County, because Greenville County is more expensive than most surrounding counties. So if you're not over that as an individual, you get approved for a whole lot more than going to the bank and getting a USDA loan there. The benefit to this loan is that, just like it says on the flyer there's no money down. Closing costs roll into the loan, so you're not coming out of pocket with it. They offer what's called payment assistance. So what does that mean? If you're not over X amount of income, certain bracket, they pay part of your mortgage for you. That helps a whole lot in today's market. So if you have a mortgage, got to go for a mortgage of $1,400, and they would pay $400, everybody know what you would have to pay out of pocket at that point? $1,000. So that's how helpful this program is. Now, the way it works is that's called subsidy. You're actually buying the home. It's not like Section 8 where they pay part of it and you're renting. You're actually purchasing the home under this program. So anything that's paid out of the subsidy through USDA, if you go to sell your home, that subsidy has to be paid back, but not out of your pockets. It's paid back out of equity of your home. And in today's market, equity grows pretty fast around it. So for instance, just to make it simple, if you bought a home for $250,000 a day, in about 2 years, typically you're going to gain equity of about at least $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, depending on the area that you're in. So if you had a subsidy of $10,000 and you want to sell that home, that subsidy is taken out of the equity, not out of your pocket. Anything that's left is yours. You can take it, purchase a new home if you want to, a bigger home, lower your payments, those type things. But what's very important is that the USDA and FHA deals with what's called a fixed loan interest rate. Very important. Even if you do not buy a home through us, we don't build it for you. If you decide to go somewhere else, only get into a fixed loan. Many places will offer you adjustable loans because the interest is smaller, the payments are smaller, but only for a certain period of time, right? So the crash of 2008, I was involved in that because I owned my own mortgage brokerage firm. And we didn't deal with adjustable mortgages even back then. Why? Because we knew what could happen. You get into that adjustable rate, and what these other places will tell you, hey, just stay in there for 2 years, refinance, and get into a fixed rate. That's what they tell you. But typically, in 2 years, most people are still getting into debt. They don't have their credit up to par, and then they're stuck with that adjustable, which typically can go up, right? It typically will not go down. Unless we have a situation where we've already crashed and the interest rates are going down, that's already happened. That's done. The government's working hard right now to keep that from happening again. So at the start of the pandemic, everybody here, we're going to have another crash next year. We're going to have another crash next year. Everybody kept saying that. And I kept telling everybody what? No, it's not going to happen because they don't want what happened in 2008 to happen to us again in the United States. So they're working hard to keep that from happening. Now, on the other hand, everything else went up. Food, gas, utilities. I think we're all feeling that, right?
Yeah, I'm feeling it now.
Absolutely. Absolutely, we all are. So the other thing we do that's different is we like to educate you. We like to put you into a home that has equity. Anybody ever heard of becoming your own banker? Anybody ever heard of that? Yeah. Couple of you. That is a term that's very prevalent, and it can happen. But how does it happen? Especially when you haven't been educated, right? I know many of us, as minorities, weren't educated on how to balance a checkbook. I know I was. What to do with credit, how important it is. We heard about it, and we would say things like, my best friend at that time in high school, was a guy I played football with. He was a little bit lighter than me. And every time we go somewhere, he pulled out a credit card. And I'm like, that man crazy. He kept using that credit card. We were taught not to do that. But the reason we were taught not to do that is because most of our parents didn't have a credit card anyway. Yeah, right. That's number one. And then number two, they didn't understand the credit game. What I did learn from this young man and the people in my family that are on that side as well is that it's very important to utilize credit and utilize it smart, right? So what I did not know is when he pulled that credit card out and paid for everything with that credit card, whether it was our lunch, dinner, gas, if we went and bought potato chips and soda at the store, I thought it was crazy. I'm like, I can cash for everything. Yeah, well, my credit was 525, and his was 800, and we were the same age. He bought a house at 21 years old. I didn't buy mine until I was 28 years old. He didn't put any money down. I had to put a ton of money down. And because he built his credit, right? Then when we did start understanding credit a little bit, we didn't necessarily understand how to budget that credit. So our credit got bad. So I got an American Express card at 19 years old. Not a good thing. Because at that time I took, who was my girlfriend, on a trip to Florida, utilizing that American Express. Had a good time. 30 days later, guess what happened?
All the fun was over.
Express green card says that whole amount is due in 30 days. Not payments like I thought it was, because I didn't read the fine print. I was so excited to get a card. You know, I spent over $2,000 on that trip. Did I have $2,000 at the end of 30 days? No, I did not. So that was the start of my bad credit. What happened after that? I wanted to improve my credit because I wanted to get a car that wasn't buy here, pay here. Well, I was paying 35% interest rate. I had a broken down car, and at that time I was paying $400 a month, which is nothing these days. But again, in the late 80s, early 90s, that was a lot of money. So I sought out someone that can do credit repair. Spent $1,500 back then. And one or two things came off my credit in about 6 months, but that was it. But what I found out that person was doing what they call a lift. Anybody can do that. You can dispute everything on your credit report, right? And say it's wrong. They're going to lift that at the credit bureaus. You have nothing showing. Now your credit looks good, but then they write you a letter saying it's frivolous. Everything that you told us was a lie, basically. They put it back on there, and hopefully a couple of things will fall off because it was already open, and that's all he did. So I thought he did some work, but he took my $1,500 and was gone. So now I still have bad credit. I'm out of $1,500. My car broke down. I couldn't afford to pay for it. I had to let it go back, and then I had a repossession on my credit. So it got even worse. So what I decided to do was try to work on my credit myself. Long process. But I found a way to make it work. Once I did that, I started helping family and friends. And then we started a business from there. This young man behind us, our recording expert back here, he and I started a company called Credit in the Box, where in my bedroom, we would put boxes together. I had typed up and I say type, because I had a typewriter then, didn't have a computer. Some of y'all laugh, y'all know what a typewriter is. You don't know what that is.
Yes.
You don't mess it with. And I typed up a manual, probably 200 pages, very detailed. And in this box, we put the manual on one side, we had a cell phone on the other side with free talk time and everything, and we sold them for $99 and made bukus money. The problem was, if you buy that, what are you going to do with it? You bought that program and they had that 200-page manual in it. What are you likely going to do with it?
Set it aside.
There you go. There you go. So I had one person that actually read it and put it to good use. His name is Stanley Dawkins. I'll never forget. And he came back to me and he said, "Hey man, my credit score going up. This thing works." So we got excited about that and said, well, I think we need to do the work. Because typically, average individual is not going to do the work. Especially if we don't see results right away, right? We're not going to keep going. If we see results right away, we might keep going. So then we got started in credit, helping people. Very successful. Left corporate America, left hospital. I was at Greenville Hospital, left there. Started my mortgage company. Anybody ever saw the program on TV called Carlton Sheets? Yeah. Some of us have. I bought that program. Excited. I'm getting involved in real estate now. Anybody ever bought? No. Y'all wasn't dumb as me. I bought the program, and I'm a pupil of whatever I study. I studied it from front to back, back to front. Got out there, tried it, couldn't get it to work. Well, come to find out, it works for some people, depending on your status, and it doesn't work for others. So that didn't work. Got back into corporate America and decided I put too much time, effort, and training into real estate and mortgages. Went to work with a young lady that owned a mortgage broker firm. Worked with her for a couple of years. Set out on our own. And just before 2008, we built a big company. We helped people get in houses. We closed about 10 houses a month, which was pretty good at that time. And then the crash happened, and nobody would hire me. So for 4 years, I'm jobless because they kept saying, you have too much experience. We can't afford to pay you that kind of money. So made no money for 4 years, and then got a job paying $10 an hour. I was 44 years old, making $10 an hour, but guess what? I took that job, right? Took that job, became employee of the month in 30 days, and then just progressed from there. Decided to get back in real estate because so many people would call me and say, hey, look, I need to buy a house. I can't keep renting. Keep throwing my money away. And I kept fighting. No, I want to get back into it. And then that young lady behind us back there, Sherry, said, you need to get back into it. We need to help some people. So lo and behold, here we are, a couple of years later, back into it. But I said all that story to say, I've been there. I've been there with credit, the bad credit. Been there with trying to buy a house and having to put a whole lot of money down, closing costs, and getting taken. That's not what we do. We help people. We don't care what your circumstances are. You can have the worst credit in the world, not make that much money. We can help you. So the first person we helped when we got back into it, this young lady worked for us at a job, and she made $14 an hour, so not a lot of money. And she called us one place on the radio that advertised for houses. She called them and they said, well, your credit score not that good and you don't make that much money. They sent her away. So someone told her about me. I built her a brand new house, which we use as a model show house right now in Simpsonville. So those of you that decide to progress forward, that's where we take you and show you the quality of the house, the home itself. At that time, Barack Obama was still president. We had him again. He was still president. Interest rate was 3.25%. So got her a 3.25% fixed interest rate. In this home, I sold it for $195,000. So we couldn't do that back then. Her monthly payment with this payment assistance program that we utilize, y'all at $14 an hour, was $624 a month. We're going to work with you to get that credit done where you're not going out there paying somebody and worried about, they're not doing anything. The good thing about going through our program, the reason we're motivated to help you get your credit up to par, is because our money is made when we build this house and close on this house. Their money is made off draining you every month.